Yabulela, umphathiswa, namkele nonke apha namhlanje in Leeuwenhof. Goeiemôre almal, baie welkom hier vandag. Dit verbaas my altyd dat die mense wat baie goed Afrikaans magtig is, altyd Engels praat en dan word dit aan ons oorgelaat om die balans reg te kry. So ons sal ons bes te doen om die mas op te kom, maar baie welkom aan die almal. Disfunda isiXhosa yonke imihla kodwa ndiyasokola kakhulu isiXhosa zinzima. Yolonto ndizawuthetha isiNgesi namhlanje. Namkelekile. It's a beautiful day today, and so it should be start of a new year. All the principals were given special disposition to be here today because they're supposed to be at schools. And that is a very rare exception. But because the pupils are only coming tomorrow, we allowed that to happen. Thank you very much, and all of the principals here are running good schools. Because I always say, if you want a good school, first get a good principal, and the rest follows from there. And if you want a good education department, get a good MEC and a good head of education. And they are the unsung heroes at the top of this particular table, including Mr. John Liners and Mr. Brian Schroeder. And they've been welcoming everybody down here, and I want to say to you all, you are the top team, and the warmest congratulations to you all. I don't welcome anybody twice. That is why we have this convention in South Africa, all protocol observed, which is the only thing that I've learned from our political opposition that I think is a good idea. So all protocol is now observed, and I'd like to welcome you all very warmly here today. In the past couple of weeks, there's been a lot of focus on matric results, in the media and in everywhere. And I think you will have all noticed that the primary focus of the media and commentators is still largely the matric pass rate. The debate is all about whether a pass should be 30% or 40%. Whether or not weak pupils should be allowed a go at matric, or whether they should be held back earlier down or encouraged to leave school entirely. And today our focus is on the people who achieve the best. The entire debate has been about the weakest end of the system. Today our focus is on the quality in the system. And I'm delighted to say that I really believe that education is turning around and is beginning to show the results of that turnaround countrywide. And so while there's been a lot of questioning of the matric results, I believe the turnaround has begun, and we in the Western Cape celebrate every improvement everywhere. We in the Western Cape celebrate every educational improvement everywhere because it is good for South Africa. And we want to do as well as we can here because we want South Africa to succeed. That is our role. We do everything that we do so that South Africa can succeed. And South Africa cannot succeed without an excellent education system and without wonderful teachers, principals, and pupils. And let me hasten to add parents who all contribute as much as they do. And today, you represent the best of the best coming together. And we celebrate you, and we say your role in making South Africa work is the role that we foreground today, although we are absolutely committed to our notion, no child left behind. We don't want a single child to be left behind, but that doesn't mean to say that, well, we focus on the weak, we should ignore the strong. The strong are those who lift the tide for all the ships of South Africa. And today we want to pay tribute to you for doing just that. Now you will know that the entire debate is about the pass rate. How many people got above 30% and whether it should be 40%. And that is why a couple of years ago when Donald Grant and Penny Vinjewald came to me and said we have to focus on quality, while it sounds absolutely obvious to people at the top end of the system, it was a very bold move. Because what they were saying was this: it is easy to up the matric pass rate if you keep weak learners out of matric, and if you just count the numbers passing at the lowest possible levels. But we want to make sure that we keep children in the system, that we give everyone a crack at writing Matric, that we encourage them to take the traditionally more difficult subjects, that they're encouraged to avoid if we just want to increase the pass rate, but that we encourage maths and science participation and do a lot to support maths and science participation, that we look at bachelor's passes as the real benchmark, that we don't look at rates, we look at numbers, because rates can always be manipulated. If you push the numbers down, your pass rate can go up. If you push the numbers up, because you're including more people in the system, your pass rate can stay static or go down. And I knew all of that, and I said, that move is exactly the right move. We don't do anything for our pupils by getting thousands of people to pass at 35%, pushing many people out of the system, and allowing the spotlight to move entirely away from the quality of the passes and the subjects that students are taking. And so it was a bold move. It was well ahead of its time. And I was warned at the time that this is going to mean that our pass rate may not rise as dramatically as it will in other parts of the country. And I said, that's fine. We're not in a race to the bottom. We are in a race to improve quality, and we will lead that. And I must say, you've been prophets, and prophets are not always recognized in their own time. But the important thing is that many of the key education commentators are beginning to understand that and coming out and saying, yes, we support that, and that is very important. And so I want to say that that has been a critically important outcome. And when we were the first province to start testing our markers, I said, oh, you know, if we're the only province that is testing the markers and setting a high benchmark for people marking exams and being sure that there is no political interference in the process, ons sny 'n lat vir ons eier agterend. En ek het gesê eier agterend, ek het nie bedoel eier op die gesig nie, het eier agterend. Anyway, they said we have to do it because the critical thing is to have a credible outcome. You have to have a credible outcome, otherwise it is worthless. And that is what we have stuck to. And so we have a credible result, and with a credible result that has met all our targets, up 10% even in the pass rate, although 6,000 more pupils are writing, we have something really to celebrate. Something really to celebrate. And if you look at the dropout rates and compare the dropout rates between grade 10 and grade 12, and then correlate the Matric passes against that, you will see that the Western Cape has the lowest dropout rate between grade 10 and grade 12 in the country. And when you see the analysis on the real pass rate, you can see what it means when dropout between grade 10 and grade 12 are correlated in. And to this kind of audience, I can speak about those kinds of correlations because you wouldn't be here today if you couldn't understand what I was saying. Now, today is your day of celebration and your day of recognition. And I want to say to you that I was delighted to read in the newspaper this morning. I always read the newspapers in the morning. I'm not often as delighted as I was today. To see that expertise is flowing back into South Africa as the brain drain is reversed. One of the nicest headlines, right on the top of Business Day. Absolutely worth that position. And it quotes the foremost labour market economist in South Africa. His name is Mr. Leeuwenhof. You might have heard about him before. And he basically says that many people thought over the last 10 years that the grass was greener on the other side. They're finding it is not so. And with turbulence in many of the countries to which people emigrated, they're finding that their job chances and opportunities are far greater in South Africa. And then he says, the jobless rate for high-skilled workers in South Africa is as low as 0.4%. Now, people are always moaning and whining about the fact that people can't get jobs. I tell you, if you've got skills, and skills needed by this economy, you will get a job. And I'm speaking to everybody here today to say that South Africa, and I'm quoting Leeuwenhof again, he says South Africa has a tremendous shortage of high-skilled workers, and as a result, South African companies struggle to find appropriately skilled people. And pro rata, they are generally paid more in South Africa than there would be abroad, given a comparative cost of living. And that is why people are streaming back into South Africa. I wish it was for a more of a committed reason, but nevertheless they're coming back, and what we need is people's skills and people's commitment. So the first thing I want to say to you today is South Africa needs you. It needs every single person with skills to contribute, because jobs are not a zero-sum game. They are not a fixed entity. The more people with skills and ability, the more investment, the more new enterprises, and the more jobs are created and grown. So skills create new opportunities for more people. And that is what we have to understand. And then I'm going to say to you today what I say to people every year. From those to whom much has been given, much will be expected. Now, I know you worked very, very hard to get the results that you did. You can't do well in Matric, even if you're clever and even if you're advantaged, unless you put a hell of a lot of work into it. But you've also got to recognize the opportunity that you've had. Many of you have really committed parents. And boy, no government system can replace a committed parent. Even if you have one committed parent, it is a massive advantage in our society today. And I want to say to the parents who take their responsibility seriously, you are the critical cog in the wheel that will make South Africa win. Simply parents who really want the best for their children and put the most they can into that enterprise. That is such a contribution to South Africa's future. And then you've been advantaged because you've all been at schools where the teachers cared. I loved Minister Grant's story about Nhlanganiso, where the pupils all rushed and hugged the teachers, because it shows the partnership. It shows the commitment. It shows the better together philosophy by which we stand and fall. And I want to say to the directors in particular, you've really done a sterling and wonderful job, and you continue to do it. And I recognize many of you from the days that I was MEC. I'm really jealous of Donald Grant. He's got the best job in government. And I recognize many of you from those days. And I want to say, well done to everybody. Such a steady team. And the steady team is what enables you to increase the results over time. And so, my message to you is today, the grass is never greener on the other side. As they say in English, the grass is always greener over the sewage tank. Never forget that. And there's another great saying that I always live by and learned from Helen Zille when so many of my contemporaries were emigrating. She says, do what you can where you are with what you have. And you can't believe what a difference that can make in life. There is no country in the world where individuals really putting in an effort can make such a difference as they can in South Africa. And happiness in your life is what you do. Believe me, it is what you do. And so I hope that you will all find great happiness and fulfillment in giving back something of the wonderful opportunities you've had to others in South Africa. And my last comment to you is this. I hope some of you will go into education and to teaching. There is no more noble and important job in the whole of South Africa than being a good teacher. Not a single one. And I'm looking at how we can achieve that. Because obviously people with your brains can become actuarial sciences and all of those kinds of things, which for some strange and incomprehensible reason to me get paid more than teachers. Nevertheless, I am looking at some scheme to ensure that we can get our brightest and our best back into schools, even for a short period. And I was fascinated to learn when I was in the UK that they've got a program there called Teach First. And the brightest and the best go to universities like you will, and they graduate, and they get snapped up by the top companies. But instead of putting millions in social responsibility finance into education, into schemes that often don't work, what the companies are now doing are sponsoring and paying the graduates that they recruit to go back into schools for a year or two and to actually teach before they start at those companies. And so they get a job in a company, but the company understands its social responsibility to give back with the brightest and the best, and they go back and they've made an enormous difference in the system. And I'm hoping that if we get a second term, and we never know whether we will, because we obviously have a general election this year, but if we do, we can introduce that scheme here, Teach First, and channel a lot of the social responsibility money that is currently very difficult to account for its impact into a scheme like that. And I would like to see many of you, and I'm going to be following your names when we've launched this Teach First system to see how many of you are out there and really trying to give other people the opportunity that you have had. So, being a teacher is going to become much better because it's on the cutting edge of technology. Have you seen some of the fantastic apps that you can get on all kinds of devices? And it's going to be the most wonderful experience to be right there at the cutting edge and working with so many bright people who've never had an opportunity before. Nou is jy almal baie warm, die katse boboi, die koepenklans emanzini, and so we have to stop talking now and get on with the reason that you were all here. So thank you very much. Thanks for giving us a reason to celebrate. God bless you all.